Swanson told me his perspective was, people are going to die.
He entered the courtroom like someone stepping onto a stage. The borrowed suit looked too big, but the smile, that smile, was perfectly calculated. That smile that would become the symbol of one of the most disturbing trials of the decade. He looked at the jurors like someone who already knew the outcome. As if he were on a stage, and the rest of the world were just the audience. There was no remorse, nor nervousness. There was only curiosity, and a strange pleasure in seeing everyone uncomfortable. The case had shocked the entire city. 2 crimes, committed within hours, with no apparent motive. 2 victims who didn't even know who the boy was that would take their lives. And the most unsettling, he didn't try to escape. He was arrested laughing, asking if they had enjoyed the show. During the trial, the prosecution described a senseless scenario. Michael was not a common delinquent, nor someone in a frenzy. He was methodical. He planned everything calmly, left trails on purpose, and then confessed, as if he wanted everyone to see what he had done. When they showed the police station recordings, the audience reacted with shock. Michael appears laughing, saying that people will finally remember his name. And that's when the court realized, he didn't want freedom. He wanted fame. Since he was little, Michael felt invisible. Classmates described him as quiet, distant, with a kind of sarcasm nobody could decode. But when he turned 16, something changed. He started talking about how fear is the purest form of respect. Schoolmates recall phrases that, at the time, seemed only like provocation. Today, they sound like a premonition. During the investigation, police found notes in his room. Pages full of disconnected phrases about power, attention, and control. He wrote about how the world ignores the weak, and how pain is the only universal language. Each line seemed written by someone who saw people as pieces of an experiment. The defense attorney tried to argue that Michael suffered from a serious psychological disorder. But the prosecutor was direct. This is not insanity, it's pride. And indeed, the more they tried to understand his motivations, the more he seemed to enjoy himself. During the testimony, he even laughed when the prosecutor described the victims. The judge demanded silence. Michael just crossed his arms and whispered, "You don't understand what it is to be free." The audience revolted. Some parents left the room. Others cried silently. But Michael remained motionless, with the same smile of someone who believes they are winning a game only he understands. It was then that the judge allowed a forensic psychiatrist to enter, an expert in criminal behavior. The idea was simple, to find out if Michael really understood what he had done, or if he was just acting under some kind of delusion. The results of the interviews, however, would shock everyone. During the sessions, the psychiatrist reported that Michael spoke with frightening clarity. He described every detail of the crime without emotion, but with almost scientific accuracy. "It wasn't an impulse," said the doctor. "It was a performance." When asked if he felt guilt, Michael answered, "Guilt is for those who fear being forgotten." This phrase was reproduced in newspapers, on TV shows, on websites and online forums. Suddenly, the boy who took lives without reason became a distorted symbol for those who romanticized chaos. And the more the media spoke about him, the more he smiled. The psychiatrist noticed a pattern. Michael didn't just seek notoriety, he sought reaction. He wanted the world to hate him, because hate was still a way of being seen. Silence, no. Oblivion, never. While the court awaited the psychiatric report, Michael enjoyed each hearing like a performance. The fixed gaze at the cameras, the laughter when mentioning the victims, the calm when hearing his own name spoken with disdain. It was as if each outraged look were fuel. And that was precisely what made the case so disturbing. He didn't seem like a remorseful killer, he seemed proud. Outside, the public was divided. Some called him the perfect sociopath. Others, a boy who never learned what empathy is. But inside the room, one question lingered. If he felt no remorse, what made him keep smiling? The psychiatrist answered weeks later, in front of the jury. He believes fear is the purest form of connection. He wants to be remembered, even if for that the world must hate him. And it was at that moment that everyone understood. Michael Swanson was not just a killer. He was the portrait of a generation that confuses attention with existence. The trial entered its final phase. The sentence was near. But before the judge could determine Michael's fate, the psychiatrist asked to speak again. He said he had discovered something that would completely change how everyone saw the boy. The room fell silent. Michael watched him with the same smile as always, confident, almost challenging. But what came next would transform that look into something different. For the first time, he would not control the game. The courtroom was full. Reporters, onlookers, family members, all wanted to see the boy who turned horror into spectacle. Michael Swanson entered escorted, with the same confident air as always. But there was something different that day. The psychiatrist who analyzed him walked to the podium with a folder in his hands. Inside it were the notes that, according to him, explained everything. The judge called for silence. The specialist took a deep breath and began. For weeks, I tried to understand what motivated this young man. But Michael was not seeking forgiveness, nor justification. He was seeking an audience. Murmurs began. The psychiatrist continued, looking directly at the defendant. He planned every detail not out of impulse, but out of vanity. He wanted to be seen as someone uncontrollable, above the rules, untouchable. The problem is that, behind all this mask, what I found was emptiness. Michael's smile remained, but something in his gaze wavered. The specialist opened the folder and read excerpts from the notes Michael wrote in the notebook found in his room. Loose phrases. Pain is respect. Those who feel fear belong to me. To be hated is still to be remembered. The audience fell silent. The psychiatrist lifted his eyes and said, he didn't want to kill people. He wanted to kill anonymity. The phrase cut the air like a blade. Michael lowered his face slightly. For the first time, there was no laughter. But the psychiatrist did not stop. He explained that, in sessions, Michael demonstrated above-average intelligence and an absurd capacity to manipulate emotions. He knew what to say to provoke anger. He knew how to twist any question to appear deeper than he really was. But behind this, said the doctor, there is a common boy desperate to be seen. Michael raised his eyes, irritated. He tried to smile again, but the gesture came out forced. The psychiatrist noticed. What scares you most, Michael, is not prison. It is oblivion. A murmur ran through the courtroom. The young man crossed his arms, looking away, as if he wanted to end the scene. But now the control was no longer his. The psychiatrist approached slowly, pointing at the defendant. This boy believed he could become a legend. But what he created was a clinical portrait of emptiness, an example of how narcissism, when fed by attention, turns into destruction. The jurors listened attentively. The prosecutor watched in silence, knowing that speech was worth more than any legal argument. The psychiatrist concluded the report with a phrase that would be recorded in the trial transcript. Michael Swanson understands right and wrong. He simply doesn't care. The judge nodded. The audience held its breath. And in that instant, Michael understood what was happening. The smile he held as a shield began to disappear. The once confident face transformed into something almost childish, confused. There was no audience, no admiration, no myth. There was only him, a boy trapped, exposed, powerless. The sentence came shortly after. 2 life sentences, without the possibility of parole. The judge was brief. The verdict, inevitable. But what stayed in everyone's mind was not the penalty, but Michael's expression upon hearing the psychiatrist's final words. You are not feared, Michael. You are only forgotten faster than you imagine. Silence filled the room. No sound, no movement. And then, almost automatically, Michael laughed. A short, forced, nervous laugh. There was no arrogance in that sound, only desperation. Officers removed him from the courtroom. And, as he passed through the halls, a reporter described him accurately. He still smiles, but now it looks like a reflection. As if he were trying to remember why he was doing this. Years passed. Michael was transferred to a maximum security prison. At first, he tried to attract the attention of other inmates, provoked guards, made jokes. But no one responded. No one laughed. And gradually, the boy who wanted to be a legend disappeared within his own silence. The psychiatrist, in an interview years later, summarized the case coldly. Indifference is the end for those who live off attention. And he conquered it completely. Today, Michael still serves his sentences. No visits, no letters, no headlines. The world moved on. And the smile that once defied the court became just another photograph in an old file. Because, in the end, what destroyed Michael Swanson was not justice, it was oblivion. The same emptiness he used against others ended up swallowing him.